Here is something that will bother you. About 25% of people making over $100,000 a year are still living paycheck to paycheck. Six figures. Still broke by the end of the month. And it is not because they are lazy or stupid. It is because nobody sat them down and explained how money actually works. Ramit Sethi, a financial expert with over 20,000 documented success stories, put it bluntly. He said, if you doubled your income today, do you think your problems would disappear? And for most people, the answer is no, because the problem was never the income, it was the behavior. Morgan Housel, the author of The Psychology of Money, wrote something similar. He said, wealth is what you do not see. It is the cars not purchased, the diamonds not bought, the upgrades declined. And that one idea changes everything about how you should think about getting rich. So here are 10 money rules, pulled from decades of research and from people who have actually built serious wealth. Not theory, not fluff, just the stuff that works. Most people have no idea where their money goes every month. They earn it, they spend it. And by the 28th, they are wondering what happened. That cycle repeats until they are 60 years old and realize they have almost nothing saved. Ramit Sethi breaks this down into 4 numbers that everyone should know. He calls it the conscious spending plan. And it is dead simple. Number 1, your fixed costs. That is rent, mortgage, groceries, transportation, debt payments. The stuff you pay every single month no matter what. This should land between 50 and 60% of your take-home pay. Number 2, savings. Emergency fund money, down payment savings, anything you are stacking for a short-term goal. That sits around 5 to 10%. Number 3, investments. This is where real long-term wealth gets built. Another 5 to 10% of your take-home. And number 4, the one most financial advice completely ignores. Guilt-free spending, going out with friends, buying a nice jacket, taking your partner out for dinner. 20 to 35% of your take-home pay spent on the things that actually make your life feel good. If you take 15 minutes today and write down rough numbers for each of these 4 categories, you will know more about your financial situation than 90% of the people around you. That is not an exaggeration. Most people have never done this exercise even once. When Ramit Sethi asks people what their rich life looks like, less than 1% can answer with any real specificity. Less than 1%. Most people just say, I want freedom. Or I want to do what I want when I want. Which sounds nice but means absolutely nothing when you try to plan for it. Here is why that matters. If you do not define what you actually want, you end up spending your money on things that feel important in the moment, but do not actually get you closer to anything meaningful. You buy a bigger house because everyone says you should. You lease a nicer car because your colleague just got one. You upgrade your phone every single year. And 10 years later, you have a lot of stuff but no real sense of progress. Compare that to someone who sits down and says, I want to travel for 6 weeks a year. I want to visit Tokyo in business class. I want to take my parents on a vacation to Portugal. That person can build a plan. They can calculate the cost. They can automate savings toward that specific goal. And every month they feel themselves getting closer. Ramit drives a car that is nearly 20 years old. He does not care about cars, but he will spend what most people would consider an absurd amount on a single hotel night, because travel is his thing. That duality is the whole point. Spend extravagantly on the things you genuinely love. Cut mercilessly on the things you do not. The trick is knowing which is which, and most people have never thought about it long enough to figure that out. Willpower is a terrible financial strategy. It runs out. Every single time. The people who consistently build wealth do not rely on motivation or discipline to save and invest each month. They set it up once and never think about it again. Here is how it works. When your paycheck hits your checking account, money should automatically move to 3 places. First, your savings account. Second, your investment account. Third, your credit card gets automatically paid off in full. What is left in your checking account is your guilt-free spending money. That is what you can blow without worrying about it. Everything else is already handled. Robert Kiyosaki, the author of Rich Dad, Poor Dad, put the idea behind this simply. He said the poor and the middle class work for money. The rich have money work for them. Automation is how your money starts working for you. It removes the decision-making entirely. And think about this for a second. Companies already automate taking your money. Your Netflix subscription, your gym membership, your cloud storage, your insurance. All of it pulls from your account without you lifting a finger. If businesses are smart enough to automate pulling money from you, you should be smart enough to automate pushing money towards your own future before they get a chance to take it. Set it up once, then forget it exists. This is the one that makes people uncomfortable, but it needs to be said. The popular narrative is that buying a house is the smartest financial move you can make. That homeownership equals success. That renting is throwing money away. And for a lot of people, that belief has led them into one of the worst financial decisions of their lives. Here is the math most people skip. They look at grandma who bought a house in 1975 for $100,000 and sold it 50 years later for $1 million. They see a $900,000 gain and think, best investment ever. But they forget to subtract 50 years of maintenance costs. They forget to factor in inflation, which ate away a huge chunk of that gain. They never calculate the opportunity cost of what that down payment could have earned if invested in the stock market instead. And they ignore the phantom costs, things like property taxes, homeowners insurance, and tens of thousands in interest payments to the bank. Yale economist Robert Shiller studied housing prices over 100 years. His data showed that American home prices, after adjusting for inflation, have barely increased at all. They roughly matched inflation. Meanwhile, the S&P 500 has returned around 7 to 8% annually after inflation over the same time period. Those are radically different outcomes. Ramit Sethi rents by choice. He lived in New York and calculated that owning would have cost him 2.2 times what he paid in rent. He took the difference and invested it, and he made more money doing that than he would have owning. Now, this does not mean you should never buy a house, but it means you should run the numbers first. Ramit himself has said he will buy a house one day, and when he does, he knows it will be a terrible financial decision, and he will do it anyway because he wants to. The point is, he will make that choice with his eyes open, not because someone told him it was a good investment. For the biggest purchase of your life, 15 minutes with a spreadsheet is not too much to ask. Warren Buffett, a man worth over $130 billion, has said publicly and repeatedly that for the average person, a low-cost index fund is the best investment most people can make. So what is an index fund? It is a single fund that holds hundreds or even thousands of stocks. When you buy it, you own a tiny piece of every major company in the market. No stock picking, no guessing which tech company will pop next, no staring at charts at midnight trying to time a trade. If your employer offers a retirement plan, most of them include something called a target date fund. You pick the one closest to the year you plan to retire and you put money into it. That is it. The fund automatically adjusts its mix of stocks and bonds as you get older. More aggressive when you are young. More conservative as you approach retirement. One fund, one decision. Ramit Sethi tells his own family the same thing. When they ask him how to start investing, he tells them to open an account at Vanguard, Fidelity, or Schwab. Pick a target date fund. Set up automatic monthly contributions. And do not touch it. He does not even have investing apps on his phone. And he says you should not either. Your phone should be building your wealth, not giving you the urge to fiddle with it. Because every time you check your portfolio and react emotionally, you make it worse. He puts it simply, investing should be boring. Treat it like putting a turkey in the oven. You set the temperature, you close the door, and you let it cook. You do not open the door every 10 minutes to poke it. The same goes for your investments. Except in this case, the turkey cooks for decades. Compound interest is the single most powerful force in personal finance. Albert Einstein reportedly called it the eighth wonder of the world. Whether he actually said that is debated, but the math is not. Here is a real example. If you start at age 16 with $5,000 and invest $5,000 a year at a 7% annual return, by age 30 you would have roughly $133,000. Not bad for what amounts to about $400 a month. Now stretch that to age 40. Same contributions, same return. You are sitting on $336,000. By age 50, it hits $736,000. And if you gradually increase your contributions as your income grows, which is what naturally happens, a reasonable estimate puts you well past $1 million by retirement. Some projections show $10 to $12 million depending on how aggressive your contributions become in your higher earning years. And here is the part that blows people away about Warren Buffett. Over 99% of his total wealth was earned after the age of 60. Not because he found some secret investment in his 60s, but because compound interest needs time to really explode. The first 20 years are the slow grind. The last 20 years are the eruption. Morgan Housel wrote about this in The Psychology of Money. He said, good investing is not about making good decisions. It is about consistently not messing up and letting time do the work. If you are 30 and you have not started, you have not missed the boat. But the boat is leaving. Start now. Even if it is $50 a month, the math will still reward you. Just not as generously as it rewards someone who started at 20. Some people pay a financial advisor 1% of their portfolio every year. They think, 1%? That is nothing. But here is what 1% actually costs you over a lifetime. If your investments earn $1 million over the course of your life, that 1% annual fee will take roughly $280,000 straight out of your pocket. If the fee is 2%, you lose over 55% of your total returns. More than half of your gains gone, just in fees. This is because fees compound against you the same way returns compound for you. Every dollar you pay in fees is a dollar that is no longer growing, and that missing dollar would have earned returns of its own. Year after year, the gap widens. Ramit Sethi makes this point sharply. In almost every area of life, paying more gets you more. A $100 dinner is better than a $20 dinner. A tailored suit looks better than one off the rack. But investing is the opposite. Paying more in fees does not get you better returns. In most cases, actively managed funds with high fees actually underperform cheap index funds. The data on this is overwhelming and has been consistent for decades. So before you sign up with any financial advisor or investment platform, check the expense ratios. Look for funds with fees under 0.1%. That is not a typo. The best index funds charge less than 0.1%. Most financial advice focuses on cutting expenses. Skip the latte, cancel the subscriptions, bring lunch from home. And look, that stuff is not useless. But there is a ceiling to how much you can cut. There is no ceiling to how much you can earn. Ramit Sethi calls this the difference between a scarcity mindset and an abundance mindset. He says there are only so many lattes you can cut, but there is no limit to how much money you can earn. And he is right. A study from the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics found that the average American household spends roughly $73,000 per year. You can optimize that. Maybe shave off 5 or 10%. That saves you $3,600 to $7,300 a year. Helpful, but not life-changing. Now compare that to increasing your income by even 20%. If you earn $60,000, that is an extra $12,000 a year. If you earn $100,000, that is an extra $20,000. And unlike cutting expenses, earning more scales. You can negotiate a raise, you can freelance on the side, you can package your skills into a service and sell it. Billionaire Mark Cuban keeps his advice simple. He says, the one thing in life you can control is your effort. You cannot always control outcomes, but you can always control how hard you work and how much value you bring to the table. And when you bring more value, the money follows. So by all means, stop wasting money on things you do not care about. But spend your real energy figuring out how to earn more. This one is short, but it ruins people quietly. Ramit tells a story about a friend who started investing, got a credit card bill a few months later, and pulled the money right back out. Treated the investment account like a piggy bank, and that is a guaranteed way to never build wealth. Your investment account is not for emergencies. That is what your emergency fund is for. Your investment account is not for a spontaneous vacation or a new phone or a car repair. It is the money you are not going to touch for decades. Think of it like this. Every time you pull money out of your investment account, you are not just losing that amount. You are losing everything that money would have earned over the next 20 or 30 years. Pull out $5,000 today, and you are not losing $5,000. You are losing the $25,000 to $40,000 it would have become. Set up your account so the temptation is not even there. Separate savings account for emergencies, separate investment account that you do not log into more than once every few months. Credit card paid automatically. Checking account holds only what you need for daily life. Structure removes temptation, and temptation is the enemy of compounding. This is the rule that ties everything together, and it is the one most people refuse to accept. We live in a world that celebrates overnight success. The crypto that went up 10,000%, the startup that sold for $1 billion, the meme stock that made some kid a millionaire in a week. And those stories are real. but they are also the exception. For every person who got rich overnight, there are thousands who went broke trying to copy them. A survey by U.S. Trust found that 83% of wealthy individuals said their largest investment gains came from small wins compounding over time, not from taking big risks. 83%. The rich did not get rich by gambling. They got rich by being consistent and patient and letting time do the work. Charlie Munger, Warren Buffett's longtime partner at Berkshire Hathaway, said it best. He said, "The big money is not in the buying or the selling, but in the waiting." That is the final rule. You do not need a brilliant strategy. You do not need to pick the right stock at the right time. You do not need to be smarter than anyone else in the room. You just need to start, automate, keep your costs low, and wait. The math handles the rest. If you watch this far, you already know more about building real wealth than most people will learn in their entire lives. The question is whether you will actually do something about it. Open the account, set up the transfer, and let the decades work for you. If this video helped you see money differently, subscribe and turn on notifications. The next one goes deeper. I will see you there.